is how the world is going to proceed forward. Like, what the fuck is going on, son?
Yeah, I feel like this is, at least for now, it's the temporary norm. If it's not the future norm, it's a temporary norm. Like, I have to train myself to keep looking at the
camera. Looking at the
right
camera. Right.
there.
Yeah. You can look at it. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I have to do that. Because otherwise I'm staring at you, and you happen to be over here. But this is the new norm, right? We're all learning how to do something that we don't
Yeah, you're right, man.
Everybody's working from home. You're doing Zoom classes for your student? Oh, no, you guys are on break.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, why my kids need a break, I don't know. But they told us not to give any assignments. All I did was tell my kids that if they're missing work, get that shit done, period. Like, if you're missing work, just get the shit done. But it's interesting because a lot of schools are abandoning Zoom because hackers are having a field day with Zoom meetings. Like, we could be sitting here and someone could put an inappropriate background of some wild shit behind me. And then as a teacher, I would be held responsible for that. So a lot of teachers, in order to keep their credentials and stuff, are shying away from these types of things. But
that's a little scary.
It's not even a little scary. It's a lot scary. But the problem is these children, I say children, but my guys are young adults, right? They need the social interaction with the adult. Like, in many times and in many ways, I'm one of the most stable adults they see. Me. Right. One of the most stable adults they see all day long. And devoid of that creates an emotional trauma that is not necessarily fair for the kids. And what even sucks even more, they can't hang out with their friends. You feel me? Like, a lot of these guys, you go to school to hang out with your friends and to learn. That's it, right? But if you can't hang out with your friends, the shit is like, depressing.
Well, there's a social aspect to being involved in education.
And y'all see how handsome I look? Look at your boy looking handsome over here, yo. You see how good I look at this motherfucker?
You know what this reminds me of? You know what this reminds me of, Kip?
Tell me.
The first show we ever did in your sound studio.
Yes.
You could be in the middle of a conversation, and we were live, right? We went on like IG Live on both of our accounts, and he would be in the middle of saying something to me, and he'd be like, I was just thinking about that. Hey, what's up?
You lucky that I can't see. I can't see. If people are commenting, I can't see the shit. You are lucky, because I would be shouting back. But let's talk about the virus in itself and how things are working out, right? Here we are.
People are living?
Yeah, I mean, here we are attempting to be more socially responsible and leading by example, right? And I had an interaction with a friend of mine, and who I have like the utmost and deep abiding respect for. And what I'm saying here is that when people are afraid and their fears are justifiable, there's no amount of logic that can be placed to take away their fear, because fear is not something that's logical.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if I'm right. It doesn't matter if I'm wrong. What matters is that we have a very complicated problem right now. The coronavirus is very complicated, but the mandate to mitigate this complicated problem is actually very simple, right? Because you know how, like, if the CDC tells us one thing, then the coronavirus is truly this new thing, right? And then their information is wrong and they fucked up. They're just going to shrug their shoulders like, oh, my bad. Well, we just got some new information, right? So like, they told us one thing. So
I mean, medical is not an exact science in the fact that things do change.
Thank you. And
so, I mean, what they said, a month ago is not nearly what it is now. Even if the virus is the same, sometimes you find a better way of doing things or a more effective way of doing things.
That's true. And also there's so much information, but there's also a lot of disinformation, right? Like someone like Dr. Drew, a well-respected medical professional. Dr. Drew comes on, like, he's one of the first ones to speak up, right? And he makes these statements about the coronavirus, but then he has to walk back some of those statements because he contradicts himself. It's the kind of the nature of the beast. This is brand new territory. Like, what I want people to be aware of and to be conscious of is how much information they're consuming, right? Because all of this information all it does is make you more terrified.
Yeah, right? But you can't help how much of the information that you're consuming. As soon as you turn something on at the top of most social media headers, it says latest, most current, COVID-19 information.
Right.
And I don't happen to click those because I don't care. But as I move down the list, it's just more rhetoric and regurgitation of other people's shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I told you
Right.
before when we chatted, I said, everybody's asking, like, is this from China? Is it from bat soup? Is it because a biohazard facility in Wyoming? Or what was it? I read one thing that a dude got arrested. Is it 5G? I heard one dude got arrested for selling biomaterials to China through an intermediary. I don't know if that's true.
I heard
can
that
tell you
there was a scientist that created this shit almost at Harvard University.
Harvard, that's what I read about.
It's like, what the fuck are we talking about?
I don't know if that's true, but I can tell you I truly believe that the real story of what's really going on is out there. But it's sandwiched in between so much other shit that you're like, no, that's not true, because this is 5G is true. 5G is not true because Wuhan is true. Like, well, you know what I mean? I believe that they've let the real truth hide in plain sight.
As we wade through the information like ocean here, right? There's still some like rubber meets the road, like let's say brass tacks facts about this thing, right? Because when back to my interaction with my friend, who's been a very close friend of mine. He's been, he's always looked out for me. He's a great guy, right? He was talking about how, his significant other, the woman that he's with, has an asthma condition, and how he has to take care of his grandfather, who's an elderly man, and how if he contracted the virus, he would have to miss school, everything is school. He'd have to miss work for 28 days and not be paid. And this type of like reality, it actually suits, like his fear is seated in reality. His fear is an actual grounded fear. It's not like he thinks that this shit is some kind of boogeyman that's going to come, some kind of giant that's going to come and squash his house. It's a real like life thing. And it doesn't, at that point, the science doesn't make any sense. Like at that point, who gives a fuck what the science is? At the end of the day, there's a complicated
because
problem.
Science can't argue with what you're afraid of.
Science can't argue with fear. It can't. It can't argue with
Science
fear.
Can't argue with what you're afraid of. Yeah.
Right. And
because fear is now your reality.
Fear is your reality. And when we're talking about being socially responsible, then I had a social responsibility to him and to everyone else to follow the mandate, right? Regardless of what the science says. And he had a social responsibility to himself and to his family and to me and to everyone else, regardless of what the science says. Because at the end of the day, God forbid that someone's grandparent died because I was reckless, right? Like realistically, I had another conversation with a buddy of mine, and he said, "Aren't we in the age range when we shouldn't care about this?" And I was like, see, that's literally the rationale that I had going into this shit, right? Sure. And that's such a callous, unconcerned perspective about those individuals whose lives are different. So yeah, man,
I don't know that is completely untrue. I think that us not being as concerned with it is a multi-tiered reaction.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not just because we're not in the age range, because there are people that are dying from it that are younger than
but
us. Not just because we're both physically and physiologically healthy, because there are people that are dying that are both of those things too. But the truth is, it's probably not going to affect the majority.
Yeah, I know. See,
and what we had talked before, was we talked about numbers, right? And we talked about however many cases there were. And the one thing that a lot of people are not talking about is how many people are recovering.
Right. The recovery information is not there. The pre-existing condition information is not there. So if they say 700 people died, we don't know how old those people were. We don't know. But I think what ends up happening, right, is you could still accidentally infect, no matter how equipped you are with all the information from the CDC, right? Doesn't matter how equipped you are. it's like you could still infect someone unintentionally. That's almost like shooting someone by accident, right? Like you shot my son, and what are you gonna do? Apologize? Yeah, I shot him by accident. It doesn't matter. My son is dead. Like it doesn't matter at this point. You can't apologize your way out of relying on information that could have been wrong.
Because is also, it's a virus.
Yeah, right. It is a virus, right? Like, I swear, man, I'm so tired of the disinformation, and it's to the point where we're being drenched with all these. I saw these dudes. Or there's a guy in a suit and a woman sitting at a table with like a green. It was really a green screen, but it looked like it was official Channel 4. Like, and I'm sitting here thinking, like, the information you're about to say is only being presented as reliable because of the optics of everything. It's like you are sitting in your fucking living room with a green screen, motherfucker. Like right now, D, where are you?
Like, you know how I look like in a Scholar Center studio?
Yes. And you are sitting on the
Center studio. Very
No, you're probably sitting on the toilet. Hey, D, tell the truth. You got pants on, son? You got pants on.
Pants.
Oh, no, hold on, man. Hold on.
Pants.
Hold up, man. Hold up. I don't know what the fuck you doing over there, man.
Can you do the same?
Is it clear? All right, wait.
Can you do the same? I have pants on. Can you do the same?
Absolutely not. I'm freeballing over here, buddy. Yes. I'm all the way Winnie the Pooh with it. You know how Winnie the Pooh had the shirt on? And
listen, you have no respect for our fucking show.
All the way Winnie the Pooh.
You have no respect for our show.
Look, man, sometimes you just gotta let them air out. Yes or no?
Listen, if your background is the wall of potential house, please raise your hand.
If my background is wall of what?
I said, if the background wall of where you're at is a potential crack house, please raise your hand.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, D. You're not just going to just try to throw me under the bus again. I'm pleading the fifth.
If we were to pan your camera up, how many holes in the roof would we see?
I don't know. What the fuck you want me to say, D? I'm not going to, no, motherfucker. No, I'm not going under the bus, asshole.
Wait a minute. Are you sitting in a camping chair?
I'm sitting in a chair. Listen.
Are you sitting in a camping chair, dog?
Hold on, man. Hold on.
Come on, let me see the chair. Let me see the chair.
Can we please get some perspective here? All right.
That is a perspective. You're sitting in a camping chair.
No. See, once again,
the butane.
Once again, you are literally doing the worst shit that we were just talking about that the media is doing. I'm glad, because like the facts are, my bank account is looking great. Right?
You're sitting in a camping chair. You couldn't even get an upgraded one.
Hey, you know why I'm sitting in. You know why I'm sitting in.
Does it have a little table right here?
No, I have a table right here. See?
No. Does your camping chair that you're sitting in have a little table right here for you to put your drink on?
No, it doesn't. It flat out doesn't. It does not.
And you ain't balling.
Hey man, look, I'm gonna let you know that your change of topic doesn't have shit to do with what we're talking about here today. Okay?
No, because what we're talking about now is the court of public opinion, which has to do with how the virus is going, right? Because it doesn't matter what the CDC or WHO says. It matters what the public agrees with and how they're going. Right. That's how I think we ended up in a pandemic, not because of coronavirus, but because the court of public opinion has decided, because of things like social media and mainstream media, that this is a really fucking scary thing and that we should take this very, very seriously. But the other reason why I want to talk about the court of public opinion is what I've noticed, especially on social media platforms across the board, is when it comes to the way social media sees things, that now becomes the reality for them. And I was speaking to you earlier about this because I had a couple friends involved in the adult industry who had been accused of some things. One of them was accused of non-consensual physical activity, basically
that's called rape.
Sex against someone's will. And he lost his job And it turned out in the long run that he actually wasn't guilty of it. Not only was he not guilty of it, he actually had proof via text messages and things like that that he was able to prove. But he never got his job back. He lost his contract.
Man. There's a list of athletes that have gone through similar. There's a really popular meme from a Baylor player from a couple years ago. Now this kid looks like a science experiment. Like physically, he's outrageous, and he was accused of rape.
Is that the one who went to jail for like 18?
No, he didn't go to jail, but he was acquitted of the charges. But he didn't get drafted because the NFL didn't want to.
He's like 23 or something like that.
He's a kid. I mean, he plays in the XFL now, but like when it was all said and done, that accusation that he was acquitted
it destroyed it,
right? Because what happens is, as soon as you are accused and you are convicted in the court of public opinion, companies will pull back away. Companies like when Kobe, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant, when Kobe Bryant was accused of rape, his sponsorships, like I think it was, he had McDonald's sponsorship and he had like a Coca-Cola or whatever. The sponsorships pulled back. Nike stuck with him, but most of the sponsorships was like, nah, we can't fuck with Kobe Bryant. This is even before the trial that didn't happen, right? Like, so, I mean, these companies don't want to be tied to. So like what we're talking about is the power and influence of people presenting a villain, right? Presenting a villain, right? Like everybody wants the villain to lose, and you can manufacture a villain without any facts. As long as you say something emotional, as long as you say something, that somebody can feel like aligned with, you can vilify any human being that you want. You know what I mean? Like this motherfucker kicks puppies. I saw him kick a puppy.
Right. Or I heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I noticed that seems to be a trend on a lot of things. Whoever gets to the social media platform first and points the finger, that's the person who's kind of like saved. And people are like, oh my God, what? Oh, they did what to you? Wow, what a low life piece of shit. And when the other side gets an opportunity to speak, they're like, whatever, shut the fuck up, because whatever you're about to say right now is totally a lie. You're just trying to defend yourself and do damage control because that person accused you.
Because that person's a whistleblower.
Wait a minute. Right. And you're like, hold on, wait a minute. I actually am open to the conversation. Let's have the conversation. No, I don't want to, because I already know. Know because you're just a liar. That's what so-and-so said. You know, I mean, and so I'm wondering how we got to that culture, or have we always been in that culture and the social media is now just the vehicle to push that agenda?
Right. Well, I mean, what we're talking about is how ideas and information travel at the speed of light, right? Well, like, listen, if person A had some problem, and if this was 30, 40, 50 years ago, then that problem would almost be isolated in that region where it happened. It's literally the same thing. This is why it's called going viral. This is literally why it's called going viral, because Wuhan, China is mad far from Los Angeles, California, right? But the way that, these things proliferate through the air is literally the same thing. Like what we're talking about is when the accuser, right? When the accuser is able to get people to sympathize with his or her thing, right? Because these people are sympathizing through some type of connection, then it just kind of rises up. It doesn't matter if their personal situation is vastly different from the accuser's situation, because if let's say we have a guy who broke this woman's heart, right? As soon as the brokenhearted ladies, let's say you have a guy who has his heart broken, okay? And then this guy goes on this rant.
For the sake of women, so you don't get hate mail?
Yeah, man, because I get a lot of hate, right? Like, so let's say this dude goes on this fuck these bitches rant. Listen, depending upon where I am emotionally, I might be like, fuck the bitches. You right. Yeah. Right? And my situation might be vastly different from his situation. But just because that feeling is something that I feel connected to them. So, yeah, man, the court of public opinion is wild, because we can always spin this back around to
you still didn't address my question. You didn't address my question, because what my question was, is this something that is like a new age thing, or is it something that has always been this way, but social media has now made it much easier for it to proliferate itself?
I think that is something that's always existed, but our ability to listen, we're in an unprecedented state in like human existence. Like we can communicate faster than at any other time than any other human that's walked this earth. So yeah, the problem is that it's not like this is a new thing. It's not. It's just that it's an enhanced thing. Like it's like we went from like if you think about
big time.
a phone. Remember the old school phones in the 80s with the little you had to put your finger in the shit and you had to spin it back, and to a cell phone. Like it's been 40 years and the technology has gone crazy.
Right.
Like look, bro, what the fuck is this shit gonna look like 40 years from now? The point is, when we're talking about communication, we're talking about the ability to communication. Bad news travels faster than good news. Bad news.
I agree.
Right, like, because it's provocative. Like, fire is beautiful, right? It's a fucking train wreck. Everybody wants to see it. You know what I mean? But
so,
mm-hmm.
No, I was gonna say. So what's the combatant for that? You know what I mean? How do you disseminate what the truth is when you only want to hear one side of the conversation? Think about all of the Democratic and Republican conversations that are being had. Think about other social media conversations that are being had. I mean, you can't convince a Republican that a Democrat has a good idea and vice versa.
You're right. And wait till these guys start running the smear campaigns. Like you don't really see it as much on you don't really see it as much. Well, yeah, you do see it. But when you have these politicians that are running against each other, they start talking shit about each other. Like, you know what I mean? This person signed a bill to send all the people that look like you to prison. Right? Like, oh shit, word. And it might be true, right? But I think what we're talking about in order to address your question, how do we combat this thing? It's almost like this is a problem that we will always hand to the next generation, right?
Right.
This is a problem that always gets handed to the next generation. Like our generation was the ones that were here before the internet. I'm not talking about the baby boomer generations that are 70 years older. So I'm talking about the 40 to like, let's say 50, or the 35 to 50-year-old generation. Like we were here before the internet existed. And then you have the millennial generation that were here for the entirety of the internet. And then you have the Generation Zs, who are the smartphone generations. Like, we're going to hand this fucking horrible hot potato over to the next generation. And I remember being a kid and being told, don't believe everything you see on TV. And now it's almost like, who the fuck are telling these kids don't believe everything they see on World Star Hip Hop?
Nobody.
Like, who the fuck are telling these kids? Like, I'm almost at, you know what's interesting about Instagram? Have you noticed that Instagram has a bunch of, like, sponsored randomness now? Like, there's a bunch of models that kind of pop up out of nowhere. And initially, I thought that Instagram was mean that I could follow the cool shit of the people that I wanted to follow, right? Like, I see D's doing some cool shit. I see my brother Slang Harley B, what up, doing some cool shit. I see Wesley I see Janet doing some cool shit. I can follow them. But now in my feed, I'm like, who the fuck are these strangers, right? Like, why the fuck are you even here, right?
Well, the advertising.
The advertising, because it says it'll say sponsored.
It'll say sponsored by.
Yeah, and then
no, I understand.
And then there's some shit that
my question is geared.
He's frozen.
My question, and am I frozen? How about now?
You was frozen for a second. He was like, he was frozen like. I saw that shit though.
Maybe it's just your shitty ass signal. Maybe that's what it is.
You're a fucking hater. Listen, I'm gonna show you how great I am. In the words of Muhammad Ali.
Are you on Wi-Fi?
I'm gonna show you. I'm on Wi-Fi. I'm gonna show you how great. I know you got them picked. I know. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Are you on your neighbor's Wi-Fi?
I'm gonna show you and every other motherfucker. Yeah, just give me some time. I'm up in the game. By the way, I'm up. I'm winning.
What's your bit rate? That's gonna be like the new question. What's your bit rate?
Bit rate? What do you mean by bit rate? I don't even know.
What's your upload bit rate? What's your download bit rate?
Oh yeah, what's your download speed? Right?
You don't know. Yeah. You ain't in the game yet, homie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
so
had
the
to learn
problem
that
gets
this
passed
week,
over.
doing everything for my gym.
Oh, that's right. That makes sense, right? Everybody, look, I'm not sitting next to you right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sitting next to you right
Yeah.
now. Janet
Listen, the reason why I brought, to get back to the point, the reason why I brought that up is because I see so many online conversations, social media based, where somebody accuses somebody of something, right?
Mhm,
And,
mhm.
and there's no way to validate it or not to validate it, and they make decisions just based on a few fucking tweets or on a
Mhm.
YouTube video or on a post or something
Mhm.
like that. And it's like all of a sudden, well, the truth has been spoken. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
now the word is out,
Mhm.
and you're. What did Dave Chappelle say when he was doing the
Oh yeah, yeah,
imitations,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And he said, I got two imitations, and the second imitation was, no matter what you do, no
Yeah,
matter
yeah.
how long it's been, I'm always gonna remember. I don't care if it was 20 years ago. We'll never
That's
forget,
you.
and we'll find you, and we'll hold you responsible. And he said,
Mhm.
who am I imitating? And everybody was quiet, and he was like, you motherfuckers, you. That's
Mhm.
who I'm imitating, because it's some shit
Mhm.
I may or may not have done 20 years ago. Now all of a sudden I'm responsible for it now. You don't even know if the shit is true.
Right.
You know,
Um.
and I feel for the people that have had these things happen to them.
Mhm.
Another friend of mine got blasted because the girl said that the scene that they did was completely, she was an unwilling participant, right?
Oof.
That she originally was willing, and then as things went on, she became more and more unwilling,
She changed her
so
mind.
on and so
Right.
on. The only thing to save his ass was that he had a BTS camera running, a behind the scenes camera running
Mhm.
throughout the whole shoot.
Mm.
And it showed that she was not telling the truth.
Right.
But it
So.
still didn't save him from the initial ridicule,
Mhm.
people, expecting that he was guilty of the fucking thing.
You know, it's interesting, right? Because people can
KIP.
weaponize the evil things in their imagination. Like, it's unprecedented, right? You can weaponize a horrible, horrible idea that you've created. And just because you have a platform to present that horrible idea, listen, I mean, it's kind of works both ways, right? Because I believe that a victim should always speak out. Someone that is truly victimized should always speak out. And the problem is that sympathy is like great capital to get people to hate someone else, or to get people to spread an injury for someone else. Like if I sympathize for you, I would, it would motivate me to do some shit, or to say some shit, or to agree with some shit. I always agree that, you know, if you've been victimized, you should say something. But the problem with this is that sword cuts both ways. Because if you were not victimized and you create an injury that doesn't exist, you could still weaponize that in the same manner to injure the person. It's like magic at that point. It's like I've literally cast a spell
Right.
on you, and since everybody's listening to it, my magic is
Right.
fucking up your life now, when it only really exists in your imagination.
And so then how do you mete out, listen, how do you mete out accountability in the aftermath when people
Right.
find out that the person that started it really wasn't telling the whole story? I'll tell you what, I still have yet to see to this day
Hmm.
that the person that said it to be held accountable.
That's true.
Look at
Right.
Trump. Like, you grab him in the pussy.
Yeah, man.
Like,
Like,
dude said it. You know what
yeah.
I mean? And they're like, locker room talk. What are you talking about, bro?
Yeah.
You should be held accountable for that shit.
Right. So let's look at this, right? You have someone that we have verifiable facts that this person did something harmful. It may be physical, it may be emotional, whatever. He violated something. And then you have
Right.
someone else, the accuser, right? Do you not validate the accuser because it's possible that she might be lying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't ever want to dismiss the victim, right? But it would be nice to know that this
I
person
think
is
you
actually a
listen and
victim. You know what I mean? Like,
I think you listen and you do your best to remain at least on the tracks, you know what I mean?
mhm.
And not swing one way or the other. And I think you have to see what the other side does.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because I mean,
and I realize
it's
a hard thing to do for people to stay bipartisan. You know what I mean? It's a difficult thing. I get that, but if you're in that position and you're making a judgment on somebody's life, livelihood, character, then you owe it to both sides to say, listen, if what she said is true, really sucks, and that person should be held accountable for that. But if it's not true, you know what I mean? I think you have to err on the side of caution.
But
and
the accusation.
A few of the girls that I knew that had said some things about other people, especially when it came to things like rape and or non-consensual activities. You know what I mean? My first question is, they put it on Instagram, they put it on Twitter. Did they make a police report?
Did you make a police report? Right.
Oh no, they didn't, because they didn't want to, because they didn't want to be objectified, and they thought that the cops would say something bad to them because they're adult performers.
Right. That's
and
because
I'm like, so you go to social media where it affects a lot more people, and you expect them to get your back, but you don't even have the balls to go to the police department because the officer on duty might think that you're full of shit.
Right. I mean,
there's something wrong with your fucking addition.
You're absolutely right. I mean, what we're talking about is the idea of receiving sympathy is more important than justice, right? Like, first thing you seek is sympathy.
Oh, right, the poor me attitude.
The poor me, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not telling people that they shouldn't express themselves, right? But what ends up happening is, if that person is wrong or if that person is lying, the accusation is always a lot louder than the apology. Nobody really gives a flying fuck if this person says, you know what?
Wow, look at, we got a full view of the wonderfulness of the room that is Hypnotic. I bet if we played that back in slow motion.
Yeah, it fell under, my cell phone is sitting on an ironing board and it fell off, so. Hey man, we're live, motherfucker. Thank you, Janet.
Ironing board. Who the hell has an ironing board out already? Because that's the only thing they have access to.
Please stop acting like I'm not the dude. Okay, please stop acting like can you please cut the? You're literally doing the same shit that we're talking about right now.
You are on an ironing board.
Yeah, no. There's perception and there's actually reality. And if you can get people to perceive some way, you can skew the reality.
This is social media,
asshole.
This is social media sabotage at its finest.
You're literally doing that. Bro, you know what listen.
Go ahead. Explain.
You know what I did. I did some cool shit this week, right? I'm not going to say the cool shit, but someone that is fucked up could not do the cool shit that I did this week. So, cut it out, asshole! I am literally doing the same shit.
Hey, kid, what would happen if we panned your camera up? What is posted, like, right up here?
It's artwork from my friend's daughter to her mom, to her grandmother. It's artwork from my friend's daughter to her grandmother, right? Listen, I have friends that love me, and one of my friends gave me a house. Said, hey, stay at this house as long as you need to because you're trying to buy an apartment complex. So that's the truth.
I'm with you.
That's not the truth?
I'm with you. Listen, no, that's true. That's the truth. That is the truth. And I won't go any further because that's just taking a low blow, so I'll leave it right there. I
still got a gang of Jordans in this motherfucker. I'll tell you that right now. Don't make me break out a $700 pair of sneakers, motherfucker.
Are you having some sort of fucking Twitch issue that you keep messing with your hair?
Yeah, man. Like, my hair is down.
Are you paying yourself like an insecure woman with fake hair on a first date?
Whoa, insecure woman with fake hair on a first date? That was pretty descriptive. You must date a bunch of insecure bitches with fake hair and be on first dates.
Occasionally I have. I never understood why they pet themselves. Hey, how do you do this? What's this? I don't understand.
On occasion.
What is this? What is this? Yes. Why do you do this at the dinner table?
That is
And then when
hilarious.
I say, what's wrong? You say, I don't know. What are you talking about? And I'm like, why are you constantly petting yourself? And they're like, oh, I didn't realize that's what I was doing.
I'm a beautiful motherfucker, son.
Are you just making sure that it's still there?
Oh, no. Wait. Still there. Listen, can we please talk about some real shit? Okay? Because I would love to see you grow that Friar Tuck shit you got going on. That gargle mouth shit. Like, I would love to let it grow in for 2 months.
Wow,
and I guarantee you will like fucking Gargamel from the Smurfs, my nigga. Cut it out.
First off, your hairline is sprinting away from your forehead.
I'm still beautiful,
Don't start. Yeah, pretty soon you're gonna be rubbing from here.
I don't know, man. We'll see.
To rubbing from here.
I'm old, man. I don't know.
You're what?
We're gonna see. I'm gonna ride
all of a sudden. Look at how Kip does not want to engage anymore. I'm
old, bro. That's the facts. I'm not 25, man. Look, we'll see in 5 years. You and I still be friends. And if I got a baldy like you in 5 years, I'll be like, you know what, D, you was right. Cause I'll tap out. I'll let that shit go.
My dude, listen. If you put your head up just a little bit like this, just put your head up a little bit like that. Look at that. Dude ain't got no hairline. Yeah, no hairline.
What are you talking about, son? What are you talking about?
No hairline. We'll give you a black magic marker so you can color that shit in.
Okay, look, man. Women love to play on my hair. Facts. Big facts. Huge facts. Massive facts.
Do they also big spoon you too?
Big spoon?
Do they also big spoon you too?
Can you please explain that vocabulary to me, please? Is that some white people shit?
You say love to play with your hair. So while they're spooning you, do they caress your hair like the pretty girl that you are in bed?
Oh, I got it. Is that where your imagination goes? That's pretty.
Listen, this is Kip stalling because he doesn't know what to say back to me.
No, because I'm not going to address the ridiculousness. Look, D, you were lucky. See, this is what happens when we're so far away. You go unchecked. You start stepping over the line again and again and again. You have no fucking boundaries.
Line stepper.
What we're going to do is we're going to take my hairline and your Friar Tuck and your Gargamel shit, and we're going to put it in a little box. And we're going to take this little box and throw it in the ocean.
And we're not going to talk about this box anymore.
We're going to take this little box, and we're going to throw it in the ocean. That's what we're going to do, okay?
Okay, Bad Boys 2.
Hey, Bad Boys 1. Just the first movie when they're in the car.
No. You want to bet on it?
Yeah, let's bet. How much you want to bet?
What do you want to bet? Did the put it in the box and not talk about my titties no more is a Bad Boys 2. What would you like to bet?
We can bet the next Starbucks. A dinner.
Dinner.
Bet.
Dinner. I can't even tell you the scene that it was in.
Okay.
It was when they were looking for the Rasta dude with the blonde hair.
Okay.
I know the fucking movies, bro. Don't ever argue movies with me.
Say it with your chest.
For failure.
Say it with your chest.
And the line was, see, I said all those things, and the only thing you heard me repeat was, your
mama's titties. Okay. Well, I owe you titties.
That's what they were putting in the box.
Yeah.
You cannot argue movies.
All right, I'm sorry, Mr. Movie Man. I apologize. Holy shit. Look, you won, okay?
Mm-hmm. That's dinner. And that's dinner. And since you're such a baller, because we know you ain't spending it on rent,
I'm not
you're going to take me to a place that I want to go.
You can pick wherever you look. Daddy will take you where you want to eat, baby. Don't worry about it. You can get some cheese on your Whopper. Daddy will take you wherever you want to go.
I don't give a fuck what you say. You pay. That's what it is. You lost the bet. And you know the shitty part is you lost the bet on a very, very, very popular all-black lead movie.
So what? What the fuck does that even mean? Are you gonna find some racism in this shit?
Are
you gonna invent some racism?
That movie was just this much short of being a Tyler Perry production. Tyler Perry
no, it was not.
Production.
No, it was far. I'm not a huge Tyler Perry fan, so you know. That movie
There's a
far
lot
better
of
than
all
Tyler
black
Perry.
movies.
I'm not a fan of Tyler Perry at all. Yeah, man.
Keep hoping.
Court of public opinion.
A lot.
People weaponizing their ideas.
I was done with
things,
that. I wanted to know how you're doing social distancing now with the girl that you went to the park with, and what you're doing about it now.
Being very responsible, man. After the conversation I had with a friend of mine, I realized that, you know, the mandate should give people comfort. Like the distancing should. It doesn't matter what my science says, right? Doesn't matter. I think that the terror is as infectious, if not more damaging, than the actual disease, right?
So listen, stop trying to sound so extensively educated and
but
stick
I am
to the script.
extensively educated, you fucking dickhead.
And stick to the script.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I'm asking is, you're not gonna be out kissing random bitches no more, huh? Sitting on park benches? Is that what you're saying?
Look, man.
Is that what you're saying?
I can't believe you. Shame on you, D. Shame. Shame on you for that statement in of itself.
I'm asking you a question.
Bro. Really? So you're trying to throw me under the bus, but I have definite eyewitnesses, right, of your behavior. So you can cut it out. I'm trying to maintain some bro code here. See, you don't give a fuck about the bro code. That's what your problem is, Steve.
We already talked about this.
You don't give a fuck about the bro code, son. I'm still gonna maintain it.
What are you talking about? I'm only talking about shit that we talked on the show last time. I just was asking if you had learned your lesson to stay
oh shit.
On house arrest.
You over there, Mr. Pot, calling the kettle black. Holy moly. Shame on you.
Listen, the people that are coming to my place, I know where they at. I know where my employees are going and who I'm around. You went with a random. And I wasn't even throwing you under the bus. I was asking if you had learned your lesson.
That
and
after,
the simple response would have
I
been
told you after the conversation, I had a different perspective on how I'm going to go about like dealing with the pandemic in and of itself, right? I think
every time that you touch your hair, by the way, I think you should owe me another dinner.
How about you sit on this and spin around, you fucking weird.
I'm not interested in you fingering one of my orifices. Thank you.
Got it, man. Me neither. That would be fucking horrible. I'd rather chop my finger off.
Apparently not. Apparently you'd rather penetrate me, and that's just weird.
If I had to choose between putting my finger inside of you, I'd rather cut it off and then put it inside of you.
The fact that you're still talking in such detail about it is disturbing.
I'm just saying, if I had to, I would cut it off first, and then I would put it in there, and then you can keep it forever. It's yours now.
Sounds like a fetish. It's getting more and more disgusting.
There we
You're
go.
not helping your position, Kip.
Hey, I'm trying to bridge this gap, right? Like if this situation ever occurred, I need an out. I need a plan, and that's my plan.
To cut your finger off and put it in my ass?
And just leave it. Who said? Yes, you can have it. It's yours now. It's yours now. It belongs to you. It's not mine anymore. You can do whatever you want. Weird. Enjoy it.
No, I don't want to do nothing with that. It wasn't even on the agenda until you put it on there.
Listen, our show is different, right? Even being on the Zoom presentation thing is different. Like everything is different. And when we started talking about the new normal and how things are going to go back to normal, do you believe that things are going to go back to normal when this is over?
No. It'll be forever changed. To a degree. I think we'll still end up in a studio sitting next to each other. I think my gym will reopen. I think it'll start shooting adults again. I think you'll be back in the classroom. But I think it'll be forever changed.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think that
after the last pandemic that we had in 1918, Spanish flu, everything changed.
Right. I think we talked about the idea that there's going to be a coronavirus season just like there's a flu season. Like, what do you think the ramifications of a coronavirus season every year is going to be? What do you think that ramification? What is that going to look like?
I think it'll be less deaths than influenza every year.
Right. I think what will end up happening is that you're going to have the vaccinators against the non-vaccinators.
Sure,
Like,
sure, I can see that.
Yeah, there's going to be a campaign on both sides where the people that don't want to get vaccinated are shamed because they don't want. Like right now, I can tell you right now, I personally would not be looking for a coronavirus vaccine. But then if I don't get the coronavirus vaccine, that means that it could still proliferate throughout our society and our community, right? It's like I'm also the guy that doesn't get a flu shot. So next year when we are all mandated to get these coronavirus, like what I'm afraid of is like in order to teach, I have to get a tuberculosis test every year, right?
Right.
And I think that we might end up in a place in our society where if you don't have this vaccination, you won't be able to do this job, or you won't be able to be in this part of society. And
that could very well be.
Right. That's pretty scary because now your civil rights are officially being infringed upon if the government can mandate that you take a medicine. You know what I'm saying? And like,
I agree.
We're
It'll
in
be interesting
brand
to see
new
how
territory.
this plays out in the next 6 months. 6 months.
Yeah, in the next 6 months, because
listen, I'm going to cut you off because you don't have a clock in front of you. And I know for a fact you don't have one hanging on the wall anywhere in there. You're probably using the only clock you have.
Evil white man.
You're probably using the only clock you have to talk on the Zoom call. So I'm going to be your clock, and I'm going to say thank you guys for listening in on the Scholar and Sinner Show. Again, I am Derrick Pierce.
I'm not going to take all this abuse from your motherfucking ass, but I am Kip the Great.
Happens to be Kip with no T.
That's fucking stupid.
You missed your spot. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on
IG, TV, kind of, sort of, something.
iHeartRadio.
You can find us in cyberspace on Zoom meetings, so that's what we're going to be doing from now on. Ain't I beautiful, y'all? Look at me.
You can find us on All Access Broadcasting, on
Facebook,
Spotify, all of the above, IGTV. We appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate the support. Leave some comments below or above or on the sides, wherever the hell you can leave a comment.
Tap the like, please. It doesn't hurt. It goes a long way for the show. Tap the like. Tap the
and please verify the fact that Kip has a very large forehead because he has a receding hairline. Enjoy the rest of your night. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in.
I'm beautiful.
See you next time.
Peace. Fuck you, D.
I can't with you.
I'm not taking all this abuse from you, asshole.
You're done.
I'm winning in life. And if
I'm
I'm bald,
every
I'm
time
going
you
to
touch
be
your
a
hair, I'm just going to
bald-headed
do
winner.
this. Listen, every time you touch your hair, I'm just going to do this.
Oh, is that what it's like?